Hello aqua friends, welcome to my channel. My name is Nicole and I have a super easy beginner's level project today. It's going to be this beautiful sun-kissed meadow. It has some fog rolling in. So let's get started. We are working wet on wet. I have a half 9x12 sheet of Hanamool collection series paper. And notice I am saturating the heck out of it. I've already started pre-wetting before I started filming. You can see that it's buckling. I'm wetting it really well like this because I want lots of time to put in all these gradient colors that I see in the reference photo. So this is the photo that will be in the description of the video if you guys want to give it a go. I have a very simple palette. I have a cool yellow, a warm yellow, an orange, burnt sienna, and sepia are my colors here. I will have all the supplies and the colors, the exact colors that I used in the description of the video. Now, to get a nice gradient, it does help to let gravity be your friend, and that is why I picked up my board. You do want to wipe off the excess water around the edges so that you don't get blooms. And I even like to add color while my paper is still tilted, so you can always see what is happening on your paper. You can watch and see how it's flowing if you like it. You could tilt it multiple ways too, and notice that once I get to the bottom here, I really like what's happening, but I do need it really dark on the bottom, and gravity is going to help bring that up. Now, the reference photo, the hillside, the dark hillside does go up on one edge, and I am trying to get that slant in there as well. So yeah, tilt your board any which way, folks, that you feel is going to improve your hills. You watch what's happening on the paper and, slide that moisture where you need it to be. So now that my paper is flat, I am going to continue building up those colors on the bottom, especially with the sepia, and getting that darkness in there. Now, this field has these little wheats that are kind of sun-kissed. They're kind of dark in the foreground here, and I am starting using my brush in that upward motion and that upward movement. The distant grasses, because my paper is so wet, is going to blend into the background really well. It's going to be very soft. Now I am loading my toothbrush with some yellow because I do plan on doing some textural effects in the foreground, but decided that my paper is way too wet for that and it'll blend too much. So while I'm waiting, I do want some of these grasses to bleed and be fuzzy, to be in the distance. And so I am adding those now. When I feel my paper has dried enough to get some textural effects, I can use paint on my toothbrush. I could also use just water. Will also give you textural effects because they'll make tiny little blooms. Continuing adding these grasses, my paper's constantly drying while I'm doing this, so I'll have different stages of out of focusness, if you will. So there'll be some that'll be super out of focus and some that, as my paper dries, will just be a little bit fuzzy. Now I'm also paying attention to what's happening in the sky. I was starting to get a bloom there, and so if that happens, because that's kind of where my divot is, I totally got myself a fluffy brush there and just hit that area, and also used my hair dryer, my heat tool, to dry that up a little bit so I didn't get a bloom. Now you're going to let that whole thing dry, and in the final stage we are just doing some in focus grasses. The reason why I wet the bottom was that I want the grasses to kind of blend into the foreground. So that's why I wet just the bottom, so that when I start these grasses, they would be fuzzy and just kind of blend in. Now, if they don't, you could always smear the bottom of the grasses with your finger. I do that as well. And I'm also using a variety of colors. So I'm bringing in the burnt sienna so that some grasses are more orangey than brown. And I'm just kind of doing a variety of colors. It seems like the golden grasses seem to be more towards the left-hand side of the reference photo and the darker ones on the right-hand side. Now comes the fun part of doing these tiny little details. I am using a script liner brush. I also dab off the excess paint before I start making these tiny little etching lines. Otherwise, you might put a blob on your paper, and this is the delicate little grasses that we're drawing. So you can even practice on a scrap piece of paper before you go for doing it on your actual painting. And I'm barely touching the paper. It's such a small thing that you wouldn't think would make such a big difference, but it really does add a lot of charm, getting in those tiny little details. And as I'm working around my paper, I will also, I'll take more brown than burnt sienna. It really depends on which blade of grass that I'm working on. Now notice the grasses have a beautiful C curve, so those are very inviting in paintings, and they really draw the eye in when it gives your painting movement instead of grasses that are straight up and down. And I really enjoyed the sways that I have going, these different directional grass blades that are curved. It also helps to have some grass blades higher than others, and they stand out more, give a little bit more interest to the composition. Now I am almost done this painting, but I decided to go ahead and put another couple of tall grasses here. And this is how my brain works, folks. Okay, right there. I totally wrecked the painting. I felt like I totally wrecked it because that didn't have that C curve that I wanted. Instead of starting from the bottom and flicking my wrist up, I, for some reason, started at the top. And so now I'm trying to add in more C curves to kind of disguise the fact that that one is so straight. And I was so mad at myself. So I wonder if you guys know what I'm talking about. If you're hard on yourself too, drop me a comment and let me know, because I was like so upset. Okay, I need another C curve here, maybe an S curve. Okay, we need a little bit more of a curve here to distinguish that or hide that stupid straight poker straight grass that I put in there. I was so mad. But anyways, so I did the best I could, and I think it turned out nice. So remove the tape. You guys just created a masterpiece. Congratulations. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial today. Let me know what you think, and I hope you give it a go. Thanks for watching.